for the advisory. Okay, we'll start that over.
Yeah,
Good morning,
sorry.
everybody. Welcome to the Visitor Services Advisory Committee meeting of Tuesday, May 9th at 8 a.m. Shanta, would you please read the protocol for the meeting?
Yes. Bear with me on my multi-screen at the moment. Okay. We're using Zoom for this meeting, which allows for the for the public to participate in the meeting as an attendee. The chair can request that members of the public provide their names for purposes of keeping accurate meeting minutes. Attendees must register to participate. The registration link is unique to meeting. The registration link can be found in the description of the Nantucket Government TV YouTube live feed for the meeting. Attendees will join in listening mode. They can click. I feel like none of this is relevant to us, David.
This is
That they shared. As I'm reading, I'm like, none of this is relevant to us. This sounds like more like the select board one. So pardon me, I'm just going to read it as is, and I'm going to work with Erica to judge it for us for the next meeting to make it a little bit more relevant to what we're doing. The chair will call on those who have raised their hands in the order they were raised. All questions should be directed through the chair. As a preliminary matter, this is Chantal Blois Murphy, Director of Culture and Tourism. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Peter Morrison. Oh, Peter, we
can't hear you, Peter.
Okay. All right, we'll circle back and let you sort out your sound and let us know when just chime in when you have it figured out. Liz Holland.
Here.
Matthew Teal.
Here.
Kara Boyce.
Here.
Mary Malaves.
Here.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. David Sharp.
Here.
And Chantal Blois Murphy is here as well. And anticipated speakers on the agenda, please respond in the affirmative. Alicia Heher.
Here.
Thank you for being here, Alicia. Good morning. Peter, do you want to try again? No.
Maybe thumbs up or something.
Yeah, it might be. I always have trouble whenever I plug in my headphones and it starts bouncing around on Zoom. So good morning. This open meeting of the Visitor Services Advisory Committee is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting can feature public comment. However, I don't see any members of the public present. For this meeting, VSAC is convening by video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and to take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. The chair will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in a conversation with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. After members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment to those members of the public that have joined the meeting via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to speak must state their names and be acknowledged by and speak through the chair. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. Thank you very much for all.
All right. Thank you, Chantal. All right. Welcome, everyone, to the May 9th meeting of the Visitor Services Advisory Committee. Second item on today's agenda is the approval of the April 12th minutes. They were all distributed to us in the packet from David prior to this meeting. Are there any corrections to the minutes?
Peter,
Peter, any correction?
hear me all right?
Yes, Peter, we can.
Okay, that's all.
Okay, thank you. All right, hearing no corrections, I will take a roll call vote. All in favor, please say aye. Matt Peel,
Aye.
Liz Holland,
Aye.
Sarah Boyce,
Aye.
Peter Morrison.
Aye.
All right. I will abstain since I was not at the meeting. Liz chaired that meeting for me. So we have approval of the minutes as written without any corrections. Thank you all. All right, moving to the third item on the agenda, conversation with Alicia. Welcome. We're so happy you could join us and give us a little insight on upcoming season and how things are going, and get your crystal ball out and give us some idea of what you see. I'm very curious as to returning guests and groups and all sorts of things. You have interesting properties that you manage in several different price points. So I think you are a good person to do a cross section of our visitors. So thank you, Alicia. Take it away.
Thank you, Mary, for that warm welcome, and especially thank you to David and Shanta for including me in this meeting. I'm really excited to have this conversation. I'll just give like a very brief background. I moved here a little over a year ago as the regatta innkeeper, and then recently have taken on the role as acting GM and director of operations for our little collection of inns, which includes the regatta, the Sherburne, and the Chapman, and of course the veranda rebuild. We're seeing a really busy start to the season, especially June with all the book festival and the film festival going on, and then continuing pretty similar in line with business last year for July and August. Something we're definitely noticing is a slower September. I don't know if that's just the lower number of weddings coming to the island, or if people are just booking a little bit more last minute. But we are starting to see a little bit of pickup for that, and then less so for October. So we stayed open all winter, 2 of our 3 buildings. So we've been busy, and we expect to continue to be. I'm certainly still learning the island and the flow and our clientele. We're definitely seeing return guests, but I'm excited to have this conversation so I can learn a little bit more about how me and my role, and then I'm also participating in the Lodging Association, how we can be a more effective partner with your agencies. I don't know if we want to move to
Thank you.
questions or if you.
Yeah, thank you for that introduction. I think from my standpoint, at this time of the year, we always try to, look forward. And I think the role of visitor services is how can we support you as a Nantucket innkeeper? The Lodging Association has always been an integral part with visitor services of, promotion, travel and lodging brochures, and has worked in dear partnership because people turn to visitor services for last minute vacancies and the restaurant list, which David will tell you how many downloads of those have happened. So I think the fact that you're seeing a solid May, June is encouraging. I just have a couple of questions on staffing. Do you work with H-2B visas? Or are you, being able to staff from repeats? And do you see any challenges in that? I guess that's the question.
I think for our company specifically, we're really fortunate in that we do have a lot of return team members pretty much all across the board, where all of our team is returning from last year. And a big part of that, of course, is housing. And that's something that we're able to offer, fortunately, within our inns. I don't believe that we would have the same luck if we didn't have housing sort of under control for us. We don't participate in either of the visa programs, but we do sometimes employ folks who have their visa through their primary job as a secondary employer. And then something that, and I don't want to speak too much for him, for the chairman of the Lodging Association, but something I'm working with Mark Anthony to start up is sort of a job database, so that we, as different inns and groups, and even within the restaurants, can share that information amongst our teams and employees for those who are looking for either more staff or for a secondary job. That's definitely something we're working towards.
Obviously, we know housing has been a challenge for a lot of businesses, not only lodging, but, retail as well. So it's good to see that you can provide housing. It's a huge expense, and, for our inns. I think the other thing that has always been curious as to how Liz has been working very well with stranded passengers, and how that, might affect everyone. And I'm glad to see that, Lodging Association has been part of those discussions, I believe. And so hopefully you'll get on board and, help us with that, since, you've been here, because that's, it affects all of us, obviously. If people can't get in, people can't get out, and I think, as you all know, when we have a crisis, we all come together, but we need some ground rules so it doesn't happen, or we're caught off guard. So, all right. Does anyone from our group have specific questions? Okay, I'm going to mute myself. There's background noise where I am. But I can see you.
Hey, Mary, question through you. Hi, Beth Hill here. Very nice to meet you. Just a question, just kind of, watching the news, just more curiosity, but we always have this looming recession talk going on. And I'm just curious, as far as ADR, how is that affected compared to last year? Are you seeing kind of a steady rise? Is it kind of plateauing? I think that's always kind of a good indicator of where the season heads, kind of leading in and kind of continuing it through the summer as far as ADR is concerned.
That's a great question. And it's something I'm curious to watch too, as there've been a lot of talks about the banks and whatnot. We haven't seen, sorry, I have a cat that's attacking me right now. We haven't seen a decrease in ADR, or maybe not quite as much of an increase as we expected, but still a slight incremental increase from last year. For us personally, Veranda was our highest rate selling rooms. So within our individual inns, we're seeing maybe not quite as much, but I think within the market, still an increase.
That said, Alicia, I have a question that I think you may be able to share and you may not be able to share. How has recovery from Veranda been going? And you may not know all the answers at this point, but I think everyone is very curious. We all feel so terrible about what happened, and would like to see everyone be successful as you move forward.
Thank you for saying that. I was very new to the community when the fire happened, and I really can't say enough about how much we felt supported as a team and being able to keep our staff employed and housed. I wasn't originally supposed to live here year round, and I think seeing the community come together really was sort of like a deciding factor for me personally. We don't have a lot more information than what's been shared publicly, in terms of, I don't know if you all saw the most recent Nantucket Current article about the plans. What I do know is, as there's more information, they definitely want to share it. A lot of our return guests are staying with us at our other ends, but are excited to come back and experience the new Veranda. I'm very happy that they're going to pay homage to the original historical structure aesthetically, but also following all the modern safety needs. So that's what we know so far. But as I have more information, I'm certainly happy to share. And I want them to put the plans right on that lawn, but I think there's some signage restrictions, so we'll see what happens.
I know there are people that do have questions, and I think it's been a, probably an extremely tough road to, face when you have a lot of unknowns. But anyway, does anyone else have some questions for Alicia? Go ahead, Liz.
Hi, Alicia. Thank you so much for joining us today. The question, it's not really a question, it's just something that we've been thinking about through the Stranded plan, is that we all have a better way of reaching each other, especially for the visitor center. And I think maybe David and Chantal could speak to this a little bit as well, is that when we do have weather coming and things like that, there, and obviously things happen out of the blue and there's no accounting for that. But the visitor center does post available rooms for the weekend or for whatever time frame that is. And we're trying to figure out a better way, a quicker way for them to be able to reach out to everybody. And it would be awesome if the Lodging Association could kind of maybe gather together and get, basically secret phone numbers together for the visitor center, or some way of direct contact, or you guys contact them so that we can know what actually is available. I think David now is going through the websites to check to see availability. So there ought to be a way to streamline that a little bit better. And then it would also help you, all the lodging people, to fill their rooms as well. So, anyway, I just wanted to bring that up and just hear your thoughts about that, and just see if we could, work something out to streamline it a little bit more.
Alicia, before you answer, if I can just add to that, sorry, my hand was raised before Liz, because I wanted to bring up that point. Because in the past, I know you're fairly new to the community, so just to give you a little bit of history about how Visitor Services has worked with the Lodging Association and the various inns, hotels, and such on the island, is they would call into us and let us know their availability. We get a lot of requests here from folks who come to the island and didn't really make accommodations plans. And then we would then direct them to whoever has availability. And that worked really well in the past. Of course, in recent years, with the change in ownership, that has kind of fallen to the wayside a bit. There are a lot of innkeepers or returning innkeepers, managers and such who still follow through on that. And it's great, but we don't hear from everyone. And then, of course, David is combing through, as well as the information aides, trying to figure out who has what available. There are a lot of options on the island for accommodation. So you can imagine it's fairly time consuming. I was talking to Mark Anthony, last year or a year and a half ago, about getting a list together of all of the innkeepers to make it easier for us to contact them, not just in the event of stranded passengers, but solely so that we can have quick access to that information. Do you guys, now that you're meeting, I also saw him during Daffy weekend, and talked about it really quickly, and he mentioned that you were getting very involved in the Lodging Association, which I'm happy to hear. Do you guys currently have, do you know at least, if there's a list of the innkeepers or whoever the general managers are, or their point of contact for us to be able to reach directly, as opposed to now, calling the 800 number and kind of hoping for the best?
Yeah, thank you for that background, because that is something that I wasn't really aware of until I think it was like a public service officer came knocking door to door frantically, maybe over Stroll. And it's something that I think we both feel passionate about. I know Mark Anthony is working on assembling that list of numbers. I'm so grateful for the resources you put together at the visitor center. I'm so sorry to hear that you've been combing through websites or dealing with 800 numbers. So we can absolutely provide a list of phone numbers. Something I've been thinking about, because David and I talked a little bit last week on the phone in preparation for this meeting, was perhaps maybe like a Google form or something that would be really easy online for everybody to just go in and submit, like rather than you having to field 20 different phone calls, something that would be really streamlined and easy. I don't know if Google Form's the right format. I just have used that in the past. And then it allows you to download an Excel sheet and like select for the certain dates that you want. So something like that, maybe that works for everybody involved and really saves time. I think we'd be really open to finding a solution. And then like on like a more specific rate question, I always discount. I do as deep of a discount as I can for stranded folks on the island. I don't know if that's common practice, but it's maybe something we could talk about as like more of like a standard. I'm sure corporate wouldn't love it if I said that, but I'm saying it, so.
Yeah, thanks, Alicia. You may not know, but I have a past history of being in hotels business for 31 years on Nantucket. And the mantra back then was the easiest thing to give away is an empty room. It's not an inventory item you can resell 2 days later. I appreciate that. I always gave stranded passenger rates. I think the other interesting thing to note is now that Lodging Association seems to have some energy behind it again. There's been a change in some of the people that were in charge. That, you know, visitor services can go to one of your meetings, get this word out, and especially even through your minutes. I know we used to have years ago, you called in at a certain time to David and, you know, and listed it. But anyway, just my comments. David, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to add to that. If the Lodging Association has meetings coming up, we would love to attend because that was what we used to do. And we would, you know, have information or, you know, discuss what's going on at the office. And it was very helpful, but you always got the same group of people showing up and the others didn't show up. And so that may be part of the reason why the Lodging Association kind of went away for a while, but we'd love to get back with you guys to have like monthly meetings that would be very helpful.
Go ahead, Peter.
Or Peter, unmute.
You hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make one, you know, broad suggestion here. You know, what we're talking about here is, I think, something where in what we would regard as an emergency, there's a whole, what we're talking about is just an overlay to what the police department, fire department would have as a way of transitioning to, you know, we have all the communication links we need. We can activate them. We can, you know, we're instantaneously ready to go. And I would just suggest that maybe we want to think along the lines of having some kind of a secure thing that is in the hands of somebody that, you know, everybody can trust and say, you know, when we need to transition to this mode, an emergency, somebody has all of the phone numbers for all of the things that need to be done, and we can instantaneously start to coordinate. We don't need to do this ourselves. We just need to get the phone numbers and have them secured somewhere, such as with the police or fire.
Madam Chair, I can speak to,
Go ahead, Chantal.
thank you. Peter, we do have that program available here at the town. I've been talking to Florencia, who is our communications manager, about something like that. And of course, that came out of the stranded passengers meetings that we were having. And all we need is to just gather the phone numbers. Once we have the phone numbers, they're in a secure location. It even gives us the ability to speak in somewhat of a group chat almost setting where we can all communicate with each other. It's secure. People on the outside can't see it unless, you know, someone screenshots it and shares it. We can communicate either via text, email, or phone call. It's however we choose to utilize that program. It lives here in the town. She's really excited for the opportunity to finally use it because it's existed for some time now. So yeah. So if once we get the innkeeper numbers, of course, and I'm sorry if I'm not using the proper title. I'm lumping everyone into innkeepers. Apologies. But we can get, you know, of course, transportation phone numbers in there. That way we can all safely communicate with each other about what's happening, who needs accommodations, what the various needs are, in the event that someone's stranded or folks are stranded.
Yeah, and what we need is,
I'm sorry?
what we need is the phone contact to the real person in the, it's an emergency.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Any other questions for Alicia while we have her here before a busy season? Yes, go ahead, Alicia.
Thank you. I have a reverse question and it's purely operational. Something that stresses me out as a innkeeper operator is nowadays we have so many different ways folks are booking. So in an emergency, and I'm sure you see this at the visitor center, there's sort of like a mad dash. You're getting calls from every phone number, bookings directly from the website, folks trying to go on to the third-party booking OTAs. And maybe this is more of a question we sidebar with the Lodging Association when we're announcing our inventory in an emergency, but is it something that you're seeing or that you've dealt with in any particular way? How do you direct people?
If I can speak to
Go-
that.
Go,
I
go ahead.
guess, what happens is when people are looking for rooms through us, we refer them to you, to the local phone number or the 800 number, because, they're looking for rooms and we want to make sure that, they go, before they go on looking for someplace, that they know that they have a room for the night. And so we just want to make sure that they are, have a secure reservation before we, have them walk away and get lost trying to find it. But, in the most part, people are calling in or coming in person looking for rooms. So we'll have to kind of streamline that a little bit better.
Yeah. Alicia, I have a question, and you may not know the answer to this, but how effective is the, Nantucket Lodging Association.org website? Is there a committee that's monitoring that, or does it even exist? Go ahead, David.
Yeah, that website is down right now, Mary, and I don't know if Alicia, if you have any insights to that, but we used to have a big link to that on our webpage, and it's now, there's nothing going on, and it's a dead link. So that's very.
I think there's a total missed opportunity for all lodging members to get their name out there with one site. I know for years, people would ask me, where do you stay? And, not knowing who the customer was, you would just drive them to nantucketlodging.org. Everyone was there. You had links to their availability. You had, right there and one click. So I guess from my standpoint, I would encourage the association, and maybe you can through the meetings, to get a committee together and get that up and running. Because that used to be a source that we established, I couldn't tell you how many years ago. Because it was one source. Chantal?
I can give a little history on the website and it going down. I know that a few years ago, maybe it was about 3 years ago at this point, I'm sure y'all remember it had the link on there that you could book now, and it would give you the availability, and you just choose your hotel and there you go. There was an issue with the agency that controlled that book now section of the website, and that had to be removed. So then the website basically just became a list of the lodging association members, which wonderful, you get the list of lodging association members. However, it's not very useful for people who are looking for places to stay when they click that book now link and it's gone. I know they were in communication with a few other companies to see if they could essentially provide that service again. And then Jamie moved on. So that was the last communication I had about that in particular. But one of the issues that they were finding is what Alicia mentioned, is that there's so many third-party sites that you can book lodging through now, that you have the lodging, you have the hotels, inns and such, their individual websites as is. Then of course you have the chamber website that's leading you over there. you have our website that's leading over there, and then you have all those third-party sites as well, that it's, the NLA.org almost seemed like the least useful avenue for people actually looking for lodging. And to go back to your question, Alicia, it is really difficult, I've found, to streamline people as they're looking for lodging, because of course we give them the website and then we give them the phone number. For the most part, it's difficult getting through on that phone line in the event of an emergency, because so many people are calling. So they're of course trying to book through the website. And then you have folks booking through the third-party sites because they can get it for a little bit cheaper. So, you guys are getting hit from all angles and the rooms are going like that. So by the time they get through on the phone, everything's booked up. And that's what I noticed was happening throughout, stroll weekend for the stranded passengers situation. So we are having the same difficulty that you guys are having as well on a
Right.
far lower scale, because we're simply just providing the information. You guys are actually housing.
Yeah, and it sounds like there's an opportunity there to fix some things and maybe move forward. So, so that we can all help, whether it's a stranded passenger or just someone that wants to come for the first time and have, general information. I know way back we used to, every website of every property used to have their own book now on there that basically they controlled. And even if that can happen, so that you're not dealing with a third party aggregator that you have to pay another fee to, that, but I think that's something that maybe lodging it would just help everybody. Go ahead, David.
When I'm looking through the internet on the web pages of the lodging sites, a number of them have a great spreadsheet, so to speak, of showing which rooms are available on a nightly basis. And if they're sold out, there's a big red X on that. And I only see that on maybe a third or so of some of the websites. But if they could be uniform with all of them, you could see what's going on for the next 2 weeks at least. And versus trying to divine what is available, because this thing just it's very helpful, and places like the Brass Lantern and Carlisle House have that ability to show that chart of each room and when it's available, and it's so helpful.
Yeah. All right. I agree, David. All right. Any other questions for Alicia? All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming this morning. It's early. And I think we appreciate, first of all, it was my first chance to meet you. It's someday I will meet you face to face. I'm in a place now where you don't want me to turn on the camera. And hopefully I will be back on island in the next few weeks, and we can meet face to face. But thank you. Any other questions? All right, Alicia, you're more than happy to stay on with us if you'd like, but you don't have to, put it that way.
I'll jump off. I have some guests to take to the ferry, but thank you so much for your time. I really look
Good.
forward to working with you all more, and appreciate the warm welcome.
Welcome to Nantucket.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. Pop into visitor services when you can and say hi.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is director's report. Shanta.
It's been a month. This is such a busy time of year for most of us, for everyone. I feel like that it's we've been working our way through. We have on June 1st, of course, our big event coming up, which is the award ceremony for the Nantucket Cultural District and Cultural Council recipients. We also have things that don't necessarily have to do with visitor services that I'm tasked with. But we're planning, because we manage the Cultural District and Cultural Council, it's kind of heavy planning time for all of our events. So we have our Juneteenth event that we were fortunate to receive a grant from the Massachusetts Cultural Council to help plan. So we are, the proverbial cookout that we've always discussed is finally happening on Juneteenth. I'm submitting the permit for usage of the Nobodere Fields today, actually, with hopes of getting onto the Parks and Rec agenda for next month. So that's, what was it? Oh, sorry. You made a sound, Liz. I thought you were asking a question. So that's coming up. And then of course, we're in full swing of planning 4th of July, which I'm excited to say is pretty much planned at this point. I'm just waiting for confirmation from our wonderful musician. And then we're going to be hopefully meeting with our new sound person since the passing of Bobby. We've had to kind of pivot a bit and find someone else. His name is Bryce Brashers, who works at the Dreamland. I had the fortune of working with him at while I was at the chamber. He actually came highly recommended through Bobby. So that's how I got introduced to him in the first place. So I know he does great work. So we're excited to have him on board with us to kind of help us out with that, and hopefully with the rest of the summer concert series as well, which is going really well. The last report I got from David was that we're almost fully booked for the season, and I'll let him comment on the rest of that. Outside of that, we have most of our staff back, with the plans of everyone being fully back by mid-June, and all of our satellite stations open for our visitors coming to the island. And our data tracking platform goes into effect on July 1st. So we'll be 48 hours behind. However, it will be the most accurate tracking of visitors and residents on the island that we've had since forever. So, and that of course is through a partnership with NOAA at the airport and the Massachusetts Cultural Council and the Massachusetts Office of Travel and Tourism. So those are all we've got going on. If anyone has any questions for me, happy to answer them.
Busy time of the year for everyone, we know, and it was a successful daffodil from all reports. So that was wonderful. The rain, we like it when not all the Boston weathermen are correct about Nantucket weather, because it was a lovely day for the parade, and we had great attendance at the flower show. So thank you for that. All right, moving right along. David.
Yes, I included in the packet the April statistics, and they're continuing to increase. And hang on, if everybody can mute because there's some background noise.
Oh, it may be me.
Oh, okay. All right. So I included the April statistics, and as you can see, everything pretty much is continuing to work its way back to where we were before the pandemic. And I also included the stats for Daffodil Weekend, showing how things were strong both Friday and Saturday, and with the weather on Sunday. That's why I was a little kind of off, but for the most part we were better this year than we were last year with the number of people. And as Chantal had said, we are getting staff back, and we're also adding new staff this year, so there will be some interesting faces or familiar faces that many of you might know that will be with us in June and July and August and the rest of the summer. That really is all I have at this point. So I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Yes, I did hear, David, from a very close friend of mine that she had applied for a position.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping she was accepted. I think she would be a great resource.
She's very thrilled, Mary, and I am very thrilled too, because she knows the pretty much who we are and what we do and all that. And I think that'd be a great asset for
Yeah.
the office.
I do too. She's very happy to be back on Nantucket.
Yes.
All right. Any other items for discussion or future
Liz had a
items?
question.
Yeah.
I just had a
Go ahead,
question.
Liz. Yeah.
Sorry, I just had a question to see if anything further was going to happen at the airport, because I know we were exploring options of maybe having something else happening out there in terms of assistance for them and information and whatever. And I just was wondering if anything came of that.
We are going to be staffing the desk out there as usual. We have Susan Tate will be back this year, and she'll be there on the weekends and Monday mornings, and I'll have other staff fill in there as well. Noah's very happy to have us there because Susan and the rest of the staff are very helpful with people kind of looking for the bags and you know where the buses are, where the taxis are, and how to get to town. And you know, at this point, I'm down there every few days resupplying the maps and the restaurant lists and things like that. So everything is going pretty well there for now, and you know, business as usual at the airport.
To add to that, we are also changing the signage at our desk to make it a little bit larger and more visible. They've also given us permission to do ads on the screens that direct people to where we are, so that they're not clogging up, you know, the JetBlue desk or bothering TSA looking for information. So I'm excited about those. I think they have 3 screens out there, and I'm designing the ads for that. To not just direct them to the information desk in the airport, but also to the visitor services offices downtown, as well as the information booth down on the wharf. So I'm thrilled about that. And then, of course, that new sign is going to be a really nice, beautiful sign that we're getting made locally. That should be ready before June. So
That's great information. Signage. I love signage that direct people. It's yeah, you're meeting their needs and helping to answer their questions. People just want communication. All right, David, anything else?
Nothing at this time, although
Okay.
I think
All
Matt
right.
had a question.
Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick question, just kind of more curiosity, but David, does anybody reach out to you as far as like the hotels, NIR, or anybody like that, when they get new concierge in, to kind of give them a quick schooling of the town and the visitor services and all of that? And
Interesting question, Matt, because as Alicia referred to, there's a lot of turnover with staff, and I'm finding sometimes that the concierges or the front desk people at some of the places are not familiar with what's going on, and they will tell guests to go here or there, and they find that things are not happening. So one of my missions this month is to go, and early next month is go around and visit the inns and let them know who we are, and you know, that kind of dovetails into the whole thing about calling in or communicating with room availability. So that's something I want to get accomplished before like mid-June. So it's very key, and particularly with the high end, you know, the higher end resorts, their concierges need to be on, you know, need to know a lot of things, but I'm finding that they don't seem to be trained as well as they should.
Yeah, and to be honest, Matt, you know, years ago, we used to host through the chamber and visitor services an orientation for all of these people. And everything got so big that they couldn't do it. And people were so busy, they couldn't have staff not work for 4 hours to, you know, come to a training. But we used to have Hospitality 101, and that was the whole purpose. I mean, the harbor master would come in, and the police department would come in, and it would be just all these general resources. But unfortunately, I think we've outgrown what those small programs used to be. So it's up to us to do the outreach. There is a whole new management change at the White Elephant as well. Bettina's going to be there, I think, until the 1st of August. So there's a great opportunity to meet the new general manager and the new innkeeper there. Sarah?
Yeah, thank you, Mary. I'm glad to hear you say that there used to be a training, Mary, because I am new to visitor service or thinking about it. I haven't been in hospitality before specifically. And so I'm interested that there used to be that, because I was going to say that would be a great opportunity. But as you mentioned, Mary, it got too big and people are busy. I'm wondering if there's a way for something to be recorded, so that it can be shopped around. So let's say, this is just off the top of my head, but a lot of the maybe lessons from how to deal with visitors 101 or something like that, whatever you had called it. If some of those lessons learned were recorded in a like Zoom fashion or as if there was a meeting, and then maybe, I'm thinking putting my nonprofit hat on, one thing that we strive is to get people out of town, to let them know there's so much more to see on the different conservation lands, and all the different groups have things. So I could see like recording like a little 5-minute section of nonprofit and open space.
Yeah.
And then putting my other hat on as a small business owner and having a charter fishing boat. Like every year we have to reach out to all the hotels again, because the concierges, a lot of times the concierges have changed over and don't know who's available, and they know one person, and when that person's booked, they don't go to the next person. And I'm sure that obviously it's the same way
Yeah.
with hotels. And so, anyway, I think something like that would be really helpful, and people could watch it whenever they want.
I do know that some of the larger properties do have an orientation program for their employees. And, that's a wonderful opportunity to get message out there. Shanta?
That video does exist. It's on the NCTV and the Chamber's YouTube channel. So in past years, they would hold out. I think they held it, it wasn't every year. I think they held it 3 times. And the last year that they had it, they decided to record it. Unfortunately, with the recording, one of the persons that was speaking, he had some mix-ups with his medication, and that portion of it needed to be removed and re-recorded. But nonetheless, it is out there. Part of why it wasn't advertised was because of that situation. And a lot of the faces and names in the video have changed, but the information is still very much evergreen. And while at the Chamber, there were conversations about how to get that out to businesses to incorporate into their orientation of their new staff members, because it had information about visitor services. There was a full nonprofit section that talked about those open spaces, riding your bike. There was information about riding the wave and how to get your bus passes for the season. All of that. It was and general customer service, how to behave when you have bad customers.
Thanks, Shanta. I had no clue that existed. So obviously the word's not out.
Yeah.
Peter, go ahead.
Yeah, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, just listening to this, I think that this ought to be a very high priority. If you've got that video, just putting it in the hands of those, those of our people who are providing housing and everything, who want to train their people, but say, we'll get around to it someday. You can make that happen like next week if you just say, here's a video. If you want to train your new employees coming in, please use it. I think they'd welcome it because it's something they want to do. And all they have to do is sit them down and have them watch it. And then suddenly we have a much broader coverage for this year. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
And it really hands off to them the responsibility for making their
Yeah.
business.
David, could you send us the link? So I don't have to go through.
Link to the video?
Yeah, because you go into the YouTube channel for the Chamber
Yeah.
or even the town, and it's
Okay.
like a maze.
All right. And can I just add one more thing, Mary?
Yeah, go ahead, David.
Okay, tomorrow afternoon, I've been invited to go to the White Elephant for their relaunch of the hotel. It's at 5:00, and that would be a great time for me to connect with a lot of the Nantucket Island Resorts people and whoever other lodging people are there. So I'm definitely gonna do that. And so that's at 5 tomorrow on the lawn at the White Elephant.
Yeah, and I think just so you know that, there is new management at the Willamette too. So you've got their 2 big anchor
I definitely-
properties that have changed over.
Okay.
So that's good. All right, any other questions? Matt, did you have a question?
No, just more of a comment on the video. You know,
Okay.
I think that it would be definitely beneficial for the town. I think it's something we may want to run through the town manager and the PR firm that they're using, because I know they've been sensitive about things like that lately, but yeah, I think it'd be great to kind of hit all different aspects, you know, and really get that video updated and something sponsored with the town stamp on it. Was it the chamber that did the video last time, or was it the actual visitor service or town that put it out?
It was sponsored by it was a chamber event,
Chamber.
and it ended up on NCTV's YouTube.
Yeah. So I think it'd be great for something to have the town put out too. And so, because the town, you know, these faces here, and a lot of them, they don't change as often as, you know, chamber and people on that side, and the private side does as much as the town does. So I think it'd be kind of something, you know, we could even get, you know, Libby involved, things like that, maybe have a quick statement in there. So just something to think about, and I'd be, you know, I'm more than happy to do what I can to help get the ball rolling on this, but I think it'd be a great idea. Because, you know, when I first came here, you know, my very first job was working at one of the private clubs, and they have absolutely no orientation, and they've been around for 20 years. And I was flabbergasted because it's, you know, I came from Marriott and all of that stuff, and going into a private club that's been around for 20 years, serving all these high-end people with no, they didn't even have an employee handbook. And I was like, how do you guys survive this long? And it's like, well, it's the kind of the Nantucket way. And I worked at many different restaurants around the island, things like that. And I mean, to be quite honest, you know, when I worked at Crew, they were by far the most organized group that I've worked for on this island. You know, they had a handbook and all of that stuff. And the majority of the people out here, it's all small business. They don't. You know, I've written a few handbooks for restaurants out here, and
Yeah.
I think it's something that, you know, it's definitely needed with the turnover.
Yeah, and that's why, as I said many years ago, we used to, you know, do this
Yeah.
whole orientation program, because small businesses know how to run their business, but it was almost a session of train the trainer. You know, and that's extremely important. Liz, do you have a question?
Just a quick one, because I know it's not really a question, because I know we're running out of time, but Chantal, when you're working on the signs for the airport, we might want to consider the screens on the High Line, that maybe we could write something up and have it, because the TV screens now are controlled by the High Line. So just a suggestion.
That's a great resource.
It's just-
Okay. Anything else for today? I think we covered a lot of ground. I was very happy that Alicia could join us, I think. Go ahead, Peter.
If we're about to sign off, I just wanted to make mention of a person I have who I think would be a great speaker at our, or, you know, person to talk about at our next meeting. I'm not sure if we're having a next meeting and wanting someone, but that person is Joe Smilowski. Some of you may know or recall him as the guy who worked with the Nantucket Data Platform. He's a high-level business person, used to work at, I think, McKinsey and all over. And I'm a good friend of his, and he has been looking into ways of evaluating, you know, what the statistics are about visitors coming to Nantucket. And when you're looking for a speaker, that's the person I would nominate for the next meeting when we need a speaker.
Has he been collecting information, or is it just something he wants to do?
He has been collecting and analyzing information and is intrigued by the questions that we are asking about. How do you answer this question? He's a guy who's you know, deep into data and knows how to massage the data, tell us what's happening, and in fact has done so. It's a hobby in his
Okay.
retirement.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Peter. We'll talk about that for a future meeting. I think, if I remember correctly, do we meet in June and not in July and August? I can't remember.
Yeah, we generally meet in June and then skip July or August or one or the other, and reconstitute in September.
Okay. Do
So I
we
was,
have, do we
if
have
you
any
want to-
terms that are up?
I'd have to look at that, but usually there's like 1, 2, or 3 terms that are up each year. So I'll check
And I
into
don't,
it
and I
send
don't
you an
remember
email.
when that starts and stops. I'm remiss on that.
That starts July 1st.
Yes, so we should probably look at that for the next meeting and see if there are any renewals or vacancies that might need to be filled. So if someone could pull that information together other than the town website, that might be helpful. Okay. Any other comments, questions, concerns? I thank you all. Hopefully, as I said, I should be back on island in a couple of weeks and look forward to a busy summer.
Get better, Mary.
Yes, thank you very much for understanding that
Yeah.
my background's not really pretty. So anyway, all right. Thanks so much. Happy to sign off.
Thanks.
David.
Maria.
All right, meeting adjourned.